Bonjour à tous and welcome to Learn French with Vincent, and this is Unité 8, leçon M. And in this lesson we'll work on les pronoms relatifs. So pronouns, one more time, yes, because we've got quite many pronouns in French and we use them quite often, okay? But in that case we're going to work on les pronoms relatifs, and we'll see first qui, then que, after that dont, and finally où. Okay, so the first one that we'll work with will be qui. Okay, so pronouns, as usual, are these little words that you use to avoid repetition if something was already said, or if you want to, in one sentence, combine two different sentences. Okay, so the first one, qui, normally we use it because it's subject. Okay, so it can be whether for a person or a thing, pour une personne ou une chose. Okay, and then the first examples that we'll see, will be for une personne. Okay, so qui. So if we take this example, the first one, first sentence, nous connaissons un homme. Okay, connaître is to know. Nous connaissons un homme. And then we've got the second sentence. Cet homme travaille dans un restaurant. Okay, so it's totally possible to have these two sentences like that. Okay, but then if you look carefully, we repeat cet homme or un homme. Okay, we've got here cet homme. Okay, and it's here in the first sentence as well. Let's imagine that we would like to combine these two sentences, make one, and just avoid repeating here un homme or cet homme. In that case, well, we will use this pronom relatif, okay? We will use this qui, just because if you look carefully in the second sentence here, cet homme travaille dans un restaurant, well, cet homme here is subject of the verb. And that's the reason why we'll use qui. Okay? So it could be a person, like in that example, okay, cet homme, but it could be also an object or a thing. Okay? So the sentence you will get will be this one. Nous connaissons un homme qui, and that's where you put your pronom relatif, travaille dans un restaurant. Okay? So it is quite easy to make. It's not that difficult. You just need to remember that it should come well before the verb here. Alright? And then we've been choosing this qui just because it is the subject of the verb. Alright? So let's see now the same sentence. Nous connaissons un homme. But then here, if you look, cet homme a travaillé dans un restaurant. So here we've got the passé composé form here. You remember, you put avoir first and then you put here your participe passé form. All right. So of course, cet homme, we would like to avoid repeating this one. So we'll get this sentence. Nous connaissons un homme qui a travaillé dans un restaurant. So basically it is quite simple because it doesn't change that much. You only need to use, again, one more time, this pronom relatif qui, okay, before the verb. So keep in mind that even if you've got two forms here, it's only one verb, okay? It's composed. You've got first avoir and then participe présent, participe passé, but still it's only one verb here, so that's the reason why qui should come before, okay? And then we'll see a third example. Nous connaissons un homme. Cet homme va travailler dans un restaurant. Okay? So in that case, what do we have here? We've got a second sentence in which we've got this is going to work. Okay? So va, it's aller. Okay? So that's what we call futur proche. Okay? So this man, cet homme, is going to work, va travailler, all right? So, of course, same thing here. We don't want to repeat cet homme or un homme, okay? So, we will get this. Nous connaissons un homme qui va travailler dans un restaurant. Alright, so just before the verbs here. Alright, so it's quite simple. Okay, let's see now if we replace une chose, a thing, okay, with qui. So, je regarde une voiture, cette voiture est rouge. Okay, regarder is to watch, une voiture, a car. Je regarde une voiture, cette voiture est rouge. So, of course, in that case, we would like to avoid the repetition of une voiture. Okay, and then, je regarde une voiture qui est rouge. Alright? So, je regarde une voiture qui est rouge. So, exactly the same thing here. You just put this qui, and then you get the verb after that, est rouge. Alright? Let's see the same sentence, but then let's put here the passé composé. J'ai regardé une voiture. Cette voiture était, imparfait, rouge. Okay? J'ai regardé une voiture. Cette voiture était rouge. So same thing here, we don't want to repeat voiture, then we will get the simple sentence, j'ai regardé une voiture qui était rouge. So just before the verb. Let's put that at the future. So, je vais regarder une voiture. So I am going to watch une voiture, okay? Cette voiture sera, so here you've got the real future, what we call futur simple, okay? So it's will be, sera rouge. Exactly the same thing, we don't want to repeat une voiture, so je vais regarder une voiture qui sera rouge. Alright, so it's really simple. You should keep in mind that first thing, well, of course, you get to spot the word you want to replace, and if it is subject like we have here, then you should put qui. So whether it's a person or an object or a thing, so it will be qui, just because it's the subject of the sentence, okay? And you have to put it here before the verb, okay? Now we'll have a look at que, okay? So que, you should remember that it will replace what we call complément d'objet direct. So complément, it's because it will complete the sentence. Objet, because it's what we call grammatical object. Okay? And then direct, just because we don't use or we won't use any preposition between the verb and this grammatical object. Okay, and then normally we tend to write it shortly, COD. Okay, so if you see this COD written somewhere, it's just because we want to say complément d'objet direct. Okay, and then the same thing will work first with the persons, so example with persons, and then choses, things, and then let's start now. So que, c'est l'acteur, tu admires cet acteur. Okay, so in that case, of course, if we look carefully, we would like to avoid repeating acteur, because it's in the first sentence and then it is in the second sentence as well. But if you have a look here, in the second sentence, you've got tu, okay, so it's the subject. Then you've got admire, so it's the verb admirer, to admire, all right? And after that, you've got cet acteur, so the thing we would like to replace. Okay, and then if we look carefully, so what we saw is that cet acteur is, well, first it's a complement, okay, it will complete the subject and the verb. Then it is what we call grammatical object, and if you look carefully between admirer and cet acteur, we don't have anything, so we don't have any preposition, so it does mean that it is direct, okay? In that case, we should use que. Alright, so let's look at the sentence now. C'est l'acteur que tu admires. Alright, so you first put back your first sentence here, c'est l'acteur. Then you put this pronom relatif que, and then the sentence continues, tu admires, subject, verb. Okay? Now let's have a look at the same thing, but at the feminine. C'est l'actrice, tu admires cette actrice. Okay, so exactly the same sentence, but it's the feminine form. C'est l'actrice, tu admires cette actrice, okay? We don't want to repeat actrice, obviously. Then we get c'est l'actrice que tu admires. All right? So same concept, same structure, no problem. So let's see now with une chose, a thing, okay? C'est la voiture, tu adores cette voiture. Okay, and then obviously we don't want to repeat la voiture, okay? Adorer, tu adores, tu adores cette voiture. C'est la voiture que tu adores. All right, so same concept. You first put que here, then subject verb. Okay? Be careful. And be careful at the passé composé form. Why? Well, look. Normally, when we construct a sentence, we first start with the sujet. Then we've got the verb. Then we've got, so what we saw, complément d'objet direct. Okay? And normally, when we introduce the passé composé form, we say that if we use avoir, normally you don't have to put anything at the end of your participe passé form, so you don't need to mark the feminine form or the plural or the feminine plural. Okay? But then when we've got this special structure with first le pronom relatif COD, so what we just saw, this que, before the verb, the rule will be that you will have to put the feminine or the plural or the feminine plural at the end of your participe passé. So let's have a look first, and it will be quite easy because it is here. Have a look, c'est l'acteur, tu as admiré cet acteur. So here you've got the passé composé form, okay? But then it's the masculine. So normally it shouldn't be a problem if we look the sentence. C'est l'acteur que tu as admiré. Alright, so we've got this que, pronom relatif, complément d'objet direct. So I told you that if it's before the verb, at the passé composé form, it can be tricky. But in that case, it's the masculine form, so it doesn't change anything at the end of your participe passé form here. That's the reason why it doesn't change here. If you look carefully, it's the same form. Okay? But if we take now the feminine form, c'est l'actrice, tu as admiré cette actrice. We want to replace actrice, then we will have c'est l'actrice que, so the structure doesn't change at all, tu as admiré. The only thing that you will have to put is this which is the mark of the feminine, at the end of your participe passé form here. Okay? The good news is that phonetically, here, you don't pronounce it. Okay? But in some cases, you will have some participe passé ending with maybe T or something like that. And then if you put the feminine form, you will have to pronounce it. Okay? So it's really important to remember that with this kind of structure, when you've got this pronom relatif and then the que, complément d'objet direct, at the passé composé form, and you've got the feminine form, you will have to add at the end of your participe passé here. Okay? If we've got the plural, like here, so masculine, but then the plural form, ce sont les acteurs, tu as admiré ces acteurs. Okay, so we just don't want to repeat les acteurs. Ce sont les acteurs que tu as admiré, and then have a look here. We've got the mark of the plural, and it's S at the end. Okay, so same thing as usual in French, you don't pronounce it, okay, but it's really important to remember that you should put at the end of your participe passé here the S. Okay? If we have, like here, the feminine plural form, ce sont les actrices, tu as admiré ces actrices, okay, we don't want to repeat les actrices, then ce sont les actrices que tu as admirer. Okay, so remember here, admirer, well, first you've got this mark of the feminine, then you've got this S at the end, mark of the plural. Okay, phonetically you don't pronounce it, but still remember you've got to put it. Okay, S. So as I said, you know, for this admirer, adorer, all these examples that we've been covering so far, you don't pronounce it. So that's the reason why I wanted to put few sentences in which, well, you'll see that you can see the difference. So the first one, c'est le camion que tu as conduit. Okay, le camion, it's the truck, okay? Que tu as conduit, conduire is to drive, okay? And you've got here the passé composé form, okay? So in that case, of course, we've been using this pronom relatif, que, okay? And it's complément d'objet direct, all right? It is before the verb tu as conduit here. So normally it does mean that the rule, well, tells us to put something at the end of the participe passé if it's the feminine or if it's the plural or feminine plural. In that case, we've got le camion, so we don't put anything at the end of conduit. We just leave conduit like that, okay? But if we put, well, the same sentence, but at the plural, in that case, ce sont les camions que tu as conduits, okay? You will have this S, you don't pronounce it, but it will be here. Now, the feminine. So we take la voiture, the car, okay? La voiture, it's feminine. C'est la voiture que tu as conduite. And that's when you hear the difference between conduit, because remember, final T is not pronounced, conduit, here, and then the feminine, conduite. Okay, so here you can listen to this t, t, okay, conduite. All right, c'est la voiture que tu as conduite. Okay, and then the same thing for the plural, so it will be feminine plural because it's les voitures. Ce sont les voitures que tu as conduites. All right, so that's the reason why it's quite important to remember this rule, even if in most of the cases you won't pronounce the difference between your participe passé, whether it's at the masculine, the feminine, or the plural form. But in some cases, like, well, these examples, you can hear the difference between at least here the masculine and the feminine form. Okay? And then the last thing, tricky thing with que is if you put something after and it's not with a vowel. So remember, as usual in French, when we've got this and something after, so a vowel, they don't really get along. So the rule is that you should take away, okay? So it will go like that. So c'est la boisson que il demande. So normally if we respect the rule, you know, we should put this que pronoun, okay? But then, as I showed, they don't really get along as usual, and so que or should disappear. So you get the final structure, c'est la boisson qu'il demande. Now let's have a look at dont, okay? And the important thing with dont is that you will use this dont instead of complément avec préposition de. All right, so the important thing here is that, so it should be un complément, so something that will complete the sentence, so coming after the verb, all right? And then it should be introduced with this préposition de here, all right? So let's have a look. And well, as we did previously, so we'll first start with the personne, and then after that, une chose, a thing. Voici l'homme. Tout le monde parle de cet homme. Okay, so voici l'homme. Here is the man. Okay, so even if it looks a bit strange to have a short sentence like that, okay, but still it was for the example, so I thought it might be useful. And then tout le monde, everybody, everyone, parle, to talk, de cet homme. Okay, so the important thing here is to spot first, well, of course, we've got the subject here, tout le monde. Then we've got the verb, parler. Okay, then if you look carefully between our complement here cet homme, because that's the thing we don't want to repeat, and the verb. So between them, we've got the preposition de. Okay? And it tells us that if we don't want to repeat l'homme, okay, we will have to use this dont pronom here. And the sentence will go like that. Voici l'homme, so the first one doesn't change. Dont, so you put here your pronom relatif, then tout le monde parle. So you just put back what we've got, subject and verb. Okay, it's not really difficult. Then if we put the same structure but then at the passé composé form, voici l'homme, tout le monde a parlé de cet homme, so same thing, we don't want to repeat l'homme, okay. Voici l'homme dont, so same position, tout le monde a parlé. Okay, so it doesn't change anything, you just put it, but then, well, the tense is different here because it's passé composé. Okay, so let's see now if we would put the same sentence but then at the futur proche, so near future. Normally I tend to put this structure just because it means that you've got two verbs here, okay, just to see. So l'homme is the thing we don't want to repeat, so voici l'homme dont tout le monde va parler. Okay, so it doesn't change anything, it should be here, and then the sentence continues. Let's see if we want to replace une chose, a thing, then je n'aime pas le livre, nous nous servons de ce livre. Okay, so aimer is to like, in that case you've got the negative form, je n'aime pas le livre, okay. Nous nous servons, okay. So in that case I wanted to use this se servir. Se servir is to use something, but it's se servir, so it's a reflexive verb, okay. De ce livre, and then you can see that we've got ce livre, okay. We've got the verb here, and between the two we've got the preposition de, so it does tell us that if we don't want to repeat le livre, we will have to use this pronom relatif dont. So the sentence will be je n'aime, sorry I forgot the pas, je n'aime pas le livre dont nous nous servons. Alright, so remember, you should put the pas. I forgot to write it, sorry. Je n'aime pas le livre dont nous nous servons. Okay, and then où, okay, the last one for this lesson. Où, well, you've got two options. Whether you will use this où to replace what we call complément de lieu. Lieu is a place, okay, or then you will use it to replace un complément de temps, okay, temps, time. Let's see first if we want to replace complément de lieu. Okay, so je vous présente la ville, je suis né dans cette ville. Okay, so je vous présente, présenter, to present, la ville is the town. Je suis né, I was born, dans cette ville. Okay, so in that case, well, have a look. You've got cette ville and la ville, so probably that's the thing we don't want to repeat. Okay, and then here we get dans, so it's in. Okay, so you know that it's a place. All right, so it's what we could call, or what we call complément de lieu. So it's a place. All right, so if you want to avoid repeating la ville, then you will have to use this où pronom, and the sentence will go like that. Je vous présente la ville. Okay, so your first sentence doesn't change at all. Où, so you put your pronom here, and then je suis né. The rest continue. Okay, like that. Okay, and then let's have another situation when we want to replace un complément de temps. Okay, so it's not, it won't be a place, but it will be something with the time. So où, c'est l'année. Okay, année it's year, c'est l'année. Il a fait très froid cette année. Okay, so you can see here, well, you've got this passé composé form. Okay, faire froid when it's cold. Okay, so it was cold, or cette année. And then, well, obviously we don't want to repeat année because it's here and it's here. Okay, and in that case, well, you tend to use cette année just to indicate the time or when it was, okay? So, c'est l'année où il a fait très froid. Alright, so quite simple. First part doesn't change. Then you put your pronoun où, then the sentence continues like that. Il a fait très froid. Alright? Few other examples for this time concept, because normally, obviously, in many cases, people tend to think that où, it's only for a place, so that's the reason why I thought it might be useful to give you few examples just to see how to use it. So the first one, for instance, c'est le jour de day, c'est le jour où elle est venue. Okay, venir is to come. C'est le jour où elle est venue. Second example, ils arrivent le jour où tu seras absente. Okay, arriver to arrive. Sera, so remember, it's the verb être, to be. Okay, but it's the future form. Tu seras absente. Absente, you won't be here. C'est le moment où le bébé va dormir, le moment, the time, où le bébé, the baby, va dormir, is going to sleep. C'est le moment où le bébé va dormir. Okay, so I know it was long, but it was quite important. So if you're not really sure about the use, don't be afraid to watch the video one more time. If you want more videos, then the YouTube channel is here, youtube.com/imagier, and then the website is waiting for you, imagier.net. Have a great day.